Alright, you guys, welcome to the live stream. Today we're going to be playing Battlefield 4 Conquest. Today I want to talk about, the UFC 200 fight weeks coming up. It's big time for me. Really love it. I'll be on vacation this week. Unfortunately, I wish I could be there at Las Vegas, but I can't. But shout out to MMAfighting.com, Ariel Hawani, Luke Thomas. I know you guys are going to keep me informed of everything that's going down this week. Really looking forward to it. I know this week we got Thursday night fights, Friday night fights, and the big fight on Saturday. I think Thursday night is the Dos Anjos and Alvarez fight. It's a pretty good one. I mean, Alvarez took a little bit of time once he came in from Bellator, but he's starting to make a name for himself. Pretty decent fight last fight. A little bit boring by most people's perspective, but nonetheless, he earned himself a title fight, and it's coming up this week. We'll see what he can do. Dos Anjos, been a little injured. Was hoping he could fight Conor McGregor. I thought that would have been a good one, even though I thought he would have waxed Conor McGregor pretty easily. But we'll see. The next night, Friday night, we got Claudia Gadelha versus JJ Part 2. Guys know the last fight, if you've seen it, it was a pretty good one. Very split down the middle with the fans on who won that fight. So we'll see what happens. I think JJ will win personally, but I'll get more into that on my next video. I don't really want to do fight predictions yet. I think I'm gonna wait till either Friday or Saturday to do that. But I think it'd be a pretty good one. But let's get into this UFC 200 card with a little bit of Battlefield 4 in the back. In the foreground. I know early prelim fights are Miller versus Gomi. I think that's going to be a pretty good one. Slugfest. You guys know the Dynamite, the Fireball Kid. I'm sorry. He comes to fight. So does Jim Miller. Jim Miller was a pretty good prospect for a while. A couple of injuries, bad fight. Kind of derailed all that, but I expect a pretty good showing out of those two. I think that'll really be worth watching. I know most people don't go to those early fights, but if I was have a ticket for UFC 200, I know I would be there from opening bell to the end. Definitely try to get my money's worth, because this card is stacked from top to bottom, not one single unknown fighter. I know most of their fights usually don't really end up in decisions. Jim Miller has a really good submission rate, 56% submission rate in all his fights. Gomi 17, so he's looking to just stand up and bang with them. So I'm really looking forward to that. And you got Mousasi versus Thiago Santos. Mousasi is a pretty good fighter. Used to watch him a lot back in Strikeforce. Really thought he'd really turn it up in the UFC. Things didn't really turn out the way most were thinking with him, but he is the number 8 fighter in the division. Definitely worth watching. Keep your eyes on that guy. Thiago Santos, I don't know much about him. He's 13-3. Not a real good submission rate. Most of his fights go to decision. He has very good takedown defense. Mousasi will try to take you to the ground if he isn't having as much success on the feet. I expect this fight to probably stay on the feet. May not be the most interesting fight of the night, but still a pretty good fight. Joseph and Dana White did a pretty good job with the UFC 200 card, even for the prelims. Now this fight here, Diego the Nightmare Sanchez versus J-Lo Lozon. Whew, what a fight. If there's any fight you don't want to miss, I would assume it's this one. These two guys come and bang. I mean bang. Neither one of these fighters are ever out. They just look to stand and trade punches throughout the whole fight. J-Lo, he usually takes a lot of damage, bleeds pretty easily, but the guy just does not quit, no matter what. He has some of the most bonuses in UFC history, along with Thomas Cerrone, Anderson Silva, those other exciting guys out there. But Joe Lozon, love him. He may not win every fight. He may not wow you all the time. But, man, you got to respect the kid. Diego Sanchez, same way. Very good striker. His accuracy, 35% significant strike accuracy, which is not bad. I mean, he does just stand there and swing for the fences a lot of times. So, you know, guys like that who aren't very technical, aren't, you know, boxing savvy, they're pretty much just going to swing, hope to land. He may not throw everything into his strikes all the time, but, man, he's willing to just stand there and bang with the best stuff. He doesn't care what your name is. He comes to fight every time. So I think that's going to be a pretty good one. That's it for the UFC Fight Pass prelims. Fox Sports 1 prelims starts getting even better. You got Sage Northcutt versus Enrique Marin. Don't really know the guy. I've heard some pretty decent things listening to the MMA beat on MMA Fighting with Luke Thomas, Ariel Helwani, those guys. You know, they spoke about this fight a little bit. Personally think Sage Northcutt has a lot to prove in this fight. Really athletic guy. He has the look. UFC really tried to push him. I think they did a little bit too fast, and we seen that in the Barberino fight. Barberino really had his way with him. We hadn't seen Sage on his back, so we didn't know how he would deal with it. And I think Barberino and his camp knew that, and they really took advantage of it. Was not the most exciting fight for most fight fans because we really wanted to see. I think most of us wanted to see what Sage Northcutt really had on Fox. You know, the spectacular moves that he puts together. He can be very unorthodox with his striking. Does a lot of different things in his fight. So, you know, they really wanted to showcase that with him, and it really didn't pan out the way they wanted to. You know, Barberino quickly stalled that whole plan with the wrestling and grappling aspect of the fight. So it really didn't pan out to be as exciting as you really wanted it to be. I'll go ahead and predict this fight. I think Sage probably will win it. Maybe not one of his most spectacular knockouts or anything like that, but I think he might get it. You know, he's a young prospect, really coming up, very athletic. So I think the odds are with him that he'll take this one. I think his camps probably really worked with him, trying to, you know, prepare him for the takedowns, because it looks like right now that's not his strong suit. So I think maybe they really try to work with him on that, and that I think he'll rebound pretty good off this fight. Second, I think one of the best fights of the night, what I think will really pan out to be one of the best fights, is Dillashaw versus Assunção Part 2. Assunção has been clamoring for this fight. He's been through a lot of injuries as of late, so we haven't really seen much from him in the past about a year and a half, 2 years, I believe it is. Both of these guys, very good significant strike accuracies. We know Dillashaw has really come along with the footwork, the accuracy of his strikings, pretty much mirrored Dominick Cruz's style, but we've seen in that fight who's more superior when it comes to all of that. I think he looked good in the Dominick Cruz fight. A lot of people, you know, had that fight split down the middle also, thinking that Cruz won, Dillashaw won. I personally had Cruz winning. I think he just totally outclassed him on the feet a lot of times. Dillashaw was swinging and missing, hitting a lot of air more than he was hitting Cruz. And Cruz is just, man, to come back from what he'd been through and perform like that, especially after fighting Mizugaki, who's no slouch. Don't get me wrong, Mizugaki's no slouch at all. Very tough guy. But, you know, he made quick work out of him, so we really didn't get to see what Cruz had left in him. But, man, did he prove he still has a lot. And, you know, I think Dillashaw is one of those guys that would just continue to give him a little bit of run. I think we'll see that fight again, because I really don't see Uriah beating Cruz. But you never know what. It's MMA, so anything can happen on any given night. But anyway, back to this fight. I think this fight's going to be just awesome. I think it's going to be one of the best fights of the night, probably fight of the night, if that doesn't go to, say, maybe Aldo, Edgar, or Lozan Sanchez. Expect this fight to be pretty technical. both guys have a lot to prove. I know Dillashaw wants to get back to that title. Asunciao wants to prove that Dillashaw never beat him the first time. So I think these guys are really going to go at it. I think in the end, will Asunciao have enough left with not having a lot of fight time as of late? And, you know, Dillashaw has had about 3-4 fights since fighting Asunciao. So we'll see what he has left in the gas tank, and can he mix things up a little bit different from what he's shown in the last fight. I think it'll just come down to, can he stall Dillashaw? Make him lose some of that energy, some of that pep in the step that he likes to show, and will Dillashaw hit him cleanly and get out the way? Because we know Asunciao is a very tough fighter, very technical. A lot of his wins, I think 13% of his wins come from KO, TKO, 43% end in a submission, and 43% decision. So we'll see how that fight goes. If it goes to decision, I'd still probably favor Dillashaw, but there's a good chance that if it goes to decision and it's a really close fight, that it might go to a Asunciao, which will give us a new contender for the title. That way we're not seeing the same fights over and over again. I know the past few years with UFC, it seems like we're seeing a lot of fighter versus fighter part 2 or part 3. People are kind of getting tired of it. We have another one of those fights coming up on this card, which just doesn't seem as exciting as it was first time around, but we'll get to that. And we got Johnny Hendricks, Kevin Gastelum. Hendricks has looked like a shell of himself ever since the whole USADA thing, and we know the last good fight I can say I've seen him in is probably the Robbie Lawler 1 or 2 fight. Both of those fights were great, don't get me wrong, but ever since then he has not looked like himself, and it really makes you wonder, was GSP right about this guy? Was he on steroids? Maybe. It looks like it was the whole weight issue thing. We've seen him not make weight plenty of times, getting on the scale very heavy, not really taking his diet very strict. So I don't know who his trainers are, if he has a dietitian or anything like that, but you know, he's got to get the right people behind him that's really going to push him to do the right things and not just be his yes men. So we'll see with that fight. Kevin Gastelum, another young prospect, just like Jim Miller was. Really had some hype going for himself at one point in time, but got that stalled with a loss, and he also had weight cutting problems. So we'll see how that fight goes. I'm kind of predicting I'm not going to predict the winner, of course, because like I said, I'm not going to do that till next week. But my prediction is that that's probably going to be one of those grinding, slow wrestling matches that I just don't want to see, that I think is going to take some of the wind out of the whole show. We know UFC 200 is supposed to be very big, but I think that fight there is probably going to derail some of the fun and hype of UFC 200. I hope not. I hope maybe Big Rig does get that back to that knockout power, big time left hand that he really has. Oh, we get to see that again, make things exciting in the division. Next fight. You haven't heard much about this, and I can't believe it. This young lady, she is definitely a contender. Alpha Cat Zingano versus Juliana Pena. It's the return of the Alpha Cat, and I'm pretty excited to see it. I really thought that she would be the one that could beat Ronda Rousey. I think she took the wrong approach, but coming out like a bull, trying to, force her will on her. We see that ended up being a loss very quick, along with some things that was going on in her mind with the outside life and everything. I think it was just too much for her at the time. So her and her camp had the wrong game plan from the start. I expect her to come out, probably take things pretty slow, because Juliana Pena, she's no slouch. She's 8-2. 50% of her fights end with a submission. They don't really go to decision very much. And that's pretty good takedown accuracy. 66% takedown accuracy. And Cat usually defends about 55% of the time. So we might see a little bit of grappling, more than likely. I expect a lot of on the feet. But I think just overall, Cat will probably take this fight very slow, be very methodical and technical with her approach, because she knows she's got to get this win to get back into the contention, even though she's the #3 fighter in the division that's not very deep as far as names and talent. So I really see her probably getting this win, but it may not be that breakout fight that we want to see, so that people can say, okay, yeah, maybe that wasn't what the outcome should have been in that Ronda Rousey fight. She's much better than what she showed that night. So hopefully she'll get back to that, because between her and Miesha Tate, they're two of probably my most favorite female fighters that are active right now. Never really was a Ronda Rousey fan. Holly Holm, kind of new to the game. I didn't know her in the boxing circuit. So hopefully we'll have a good showing out of that fight. I think Juliana Pena has a lot to prove. She really wants a shot at that title, which would not be a bad thing, because outside of Miesha Tate, Holly Holm, and Ronda Rousey, there's not much going on there as far as contenders and big money fights that people want to see. I think we've kind of got away from the years where it was #1 versus the champion or #2 versus the champion. Right now, Conor McGregor came in, made a scene talking about the money, the big fights. I'm in it to make this money and get out of the game. I want to be rich. And now all the fighters have also taken heed to the same thing. So that's why you're hearing a lot of the talking about who wants who. I want the big fights. I want to make the money. I want the Conor McGregor money, the Anderson Silva money, the GSP money. Those guys were the main ones that make all that big money. But now there's Conor McGregor, who came and just threw a monkey wrench in the whole plan of how things are laid out with the UFC. So kind of the UFC's fault, but you can't knock the guy for trying to make money. That's what we all live for. We want the better things. Most of us want the better things in life. So get the money and get out. It's one of those tough sports where you never know what may happen to you to end your career or something like that. So I can't blame the guy for what he's doing. Don't really care for how much talk he has. I think a lot of it's scripted or whatever. It's just not the best. But hopefully these two ladies have a good outing and we get a good fight. We'll see on Saturday. I'm really not paying attention to this game. I know I'm not the best at it, but I'm still not paying attention to it. So that's why it looks like I really, really suck at it. Because I'm just not paying attention, because I'm trying to talk to you guys. It's one of my first broadcasts that I've done. So I'm trying to figure out things, see how it works. But anyway, back to the UFC 200. We're going to get into the main card now.